Welcome to Ask When, everyone. They say don't judge a book by its cover, but this is how Chris got this interview. I am now in love with Chris's cover. I think it's so cool. So I hopped on Facebook like I always do, and I found this book cover. And I DM'd Chris like I always do, and I said, hey, do you want to come on Ask When? He agreed. So this is where we start. And I'm going to let Mr. Chris take it away and explain to us how he wrote the book, how he got the idea, and then I'll be asking him a couple baseline questions, and then we'll just roll with it. So welcome, Chris.
It's a pleasure to be here, Wynn. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And so when you wrote this book, what was the idea behind it?
So the novel is called Divinity's Twilight Rebirth. And the initial idea I had was, well, I've been reading fantasy and science fiction, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, all these things throughout my entire life. And I was thinking to myself, well, I probably have a story to tell myself. And as many great tales start, there was an initial idea. Of course, I can't say that initial idea because it's a spoiler for book 3 in this series. But I saw this barren, desolate world that was dominated by war, these peoples that had been struggling with hardship and strife, a lot of issues that we deal with in our own world. It's sort of a social experiment in that way. But I saw these problems and I thought that, well, that there needs to be somebody that stands up. There needs to be some hero that comes along and restores order, that brings about peace. But what happens if that goes awry? What if the heroes don't succeed? What if the heroes themselves are corrupted by the journey that they take? What if there is there was a philosopher, Machiavelli, that the ends justify the means? What if somebody attempts to use their power to enforce peace? And that's the basic premise, that you have 3 brothers in the ancient times of this world, of Lazaria: Darmatus, Raban, and Sarkon. And all 3 of them had experienced hardship in their lives, that their parents were lost to this all-consuming conflict, that they had fought and scraped and dug and bled to survive their entire lives. And finally, when they were able to achieve something, when they were able to grasp a little bit of power themselves, the eldest brother, Sarkon, goes off the rails. That he thinks that if he's the only person making decisions for this entire world, that peace is going to be the natural order. And the 2 other brothers revolt against this. They defeat Sarkon along with an alliance of other peoples. And then we fast forward 700 years to the world that they've left behind, that the adherents of each brothers have preserved their ideology and brought it into the present day, along with a whole host of new social and technological issues. I even tackle climate change to a degree, because the resource in this magical world called Illyrium is a very clean burning source of energy. The problem is that it requires a lot more energy to use it. And so what if we're going in reverse for technology, and how that plays back into the dynamic of innovation and war, that there is a feeding process where one drives the other. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on here.
I love it. And it sounds like it will keep me, after I finish my journalism school. As I was telling Chris, you guys, I am going to pick up a book and not a textbook and start reading books, because I'm like, I need a break from these stupid textbooks. Mm-hmm. That I need my mind to go numb, and yours is going to be on my list, because right now I need my mind to go numb, as I said. And so, did you always want to write a book and be a published author?
I didn't. It's actually a back and forth dream. So the very first thing I wanted to be was a pirate. So that was about 4 years old. And everybody goes through their pirate stage. Then I wanted to be president at about 5 or 6 years old. And I could go through, there was a doctor in there was a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
But eventually in high school, I settled on being an engineer. And the reason I did that was I liked science and math. It made sense. It was something that came naturally to me. And of course, there's also the economics. You're talking about your own education. That if you, at that time, this was, I graduated high school 2010. At that time, if you wanted a job, you needed something in the hard sciences, that was the only guarantee that you'd get a job. And of course, now we know that that's not even a guarantee that you get a job.
Yeah.
But I was thinking to myself, well, I want to go and be a mechanical engineer. I want to work on airplanes. I want to work on space shuttles or robotics or biotechnology, something new and advanced, nanomachines. And I actually went through and finished those degrees. And I recently got my PhD in biomechanical engineering while doing all this writing. So there's a lot of interplay between science and magic and various things in my book, because I bring the technical expertise into the fantastical.
Excuse me, you have a PhD? You don't look like you have a PhD.
I actually turned 28 yesterday. It was my birthday.
Oh, geez.
I know. I've got these baby cheeks.
Like you have a PhD. And so did you self-publish this book, or did you go the hybrid route, or did you go the traditional route?
So I went hybrid. I think you know Morgan James Publishing fairly well.
Yes.
Yes, and so I went through Morgan James Publishing. I still retain the rights to my copyright, all the different art that I've done, but Morgan James owns the rights for publication, and that's who's publishing it through Ingram Press. That's how it's getting out to bookstores.
So Ingram Press. And for those of you that do not know, Ingram Press is actually, I have access to Ingram Press too. And they are very, very, very lovely. Better than Amazon. Oh, a lot better than Amazon. I won't go down that rabbit hole, how much I do not like Amazon. And yes, you guys can at me, tweet me, or whatever, and say when that is how you first publish your first book. And you haven't learned your lesson since? Yes, I have learned my lesson. I just haven't picked up a pen yet to write an actual book. I have them sitting on my laptop. But Ingram Sparks is one of those that is a very, very, very good publisher. So if you guys want to go look into the hybrid, well, a lot of these hybrid publishers use Ingram Sparks. Mm-hmm. And so if you had a favorite book, what is the title?
My favorite book, well, this changes every so often. My most recent one is from about a year ago, and that is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. I think it is part of a trilogy, but I think that it is the most complete novel in a trilogy that you will find. It has a conclusive ending, a fantastic twist. The characters, you want to rip your heart out and give it to the characters. You want to be right there in the adventure alongside them. And of course, Brandon Sanderson is the master of hard magic systems, which I myself use, which is taking a magic system and giving it well-defined rules so that it becomes almost like a science, that you don't believe the characters are getting out of a situation because of Deus Ex Machina, that they have earned their victories. And I just love the story that he develops in Mistborn.
And there's another connection to Brandon Sanderson with your book, because you told me that you got Brandon Sanderson's graphic artist to do your book cover.
Yes, you can actually, if it gets blown up, I don't know whether the podcast is just going to be audio or visual, but I have a poster board behind me with the cover on it. And of course, you can look up Divinity's Twilight Rebirth online. You'll find my website. You'll find the Amazon page, Barnes & Noble, everything. But this was done by Chris McGrath, who did his second run of Mistborn novels, as well as his Mistborn Era 2 covers. And so my favorite novel is actually where I got the inspiration to go and request Chris McGrath to do my cover. And I'm just ecstatic that my favorite piece of art on my favorite book was able to then move on, and he was able to do my cover. That it's just this incredible line of coincidences, and
full
I'm sure you
circle.
have lots of people on your show that say that.
It's full circle. Now, they always say shop the market that you're going to be in and pick your favorite cover and then try and do something based off of that. And man, it's remarkable. As I said, I snuck on Facebook and I saw this cover and it caught my eye, and it was all from there, you guys. So if you had to move and only take 5 things with you, what would they be?
Okay, so do we count the laptop and the charger as one thing?
Oh, we count those as one thing. Yes.
Okay, laptop and charger. I would normally take my desktop with me, but if I took my desktop, I'd also have to take the TV, and those are 2 separate things. So we'll take the laptop. Take the laptop. We'll take the flash drive so that we have a backup to all the data on the laptop, just in case the laptop crashes and burns. So we've just salvaged all of our writing materials right there. Then
That's always a good thing. That's always a good thing to
Yes.
the writing materials.
So if we have all our writing materials right there, now the question is, do I need something to take notes on? Am I going to pull out the laptop every single time I have an idea and take notes? Probably not, so we're going to have to bring the cell phone. Lots of people will say cell phone. Yeah. And that's how I can take all my writing notes. Does a dog count as a thing?
A pet counts. A pet counts, and humans count, and all that good stuff counts.
Okay, so I have to take my dog Vallen. He's named after the male protagonist of Divinity's Twilight, and because he's my personal dog, and we actually have 3 other dogs, so I'd want to bring all 4 of them, but if I only have to pick one, and I love them all dearly, and it's like cutting off a limb. I don't want to have to cut off a limb and leave the others behind. But Vallen and I have spent a lot more time together than the other dogs. He's actually getting ready to turn 2, so he's this great big blue mural Sheltie that has all the grays and the tans and the crimson mix. There's a little bit of a tawny in there as well, but he has an incredible mottled coat. Looks gorgeous, and this black spot over one of his eyes that completes the ensemble. Okay. But a gorgeous dog. So that's 4. And then for 5, I'm probably going to have to bring either a actual Bible or a Bible on my phone. So some access to scripture so that I can continue to read that. I draw a lot of inspiration from my faith, as well as it's very grounding. It's part of who you are, that you always have to have access to that. And I will say I don't have it completely memorized. There are some people that do. I have a few key scriptures, so I'm going to need something to reference.
You do have a key scriptures, but the rest of it all would have to be researched. And so what is your morning routine?
Morning routine. So depending on the day, right now with all the virtual and everything, I am teaching virtually into the school where I'm at. I am doing tutoring on the side, and then I'm doing writing. So on a day where I'm not teaching and I'm not tutoring, I roll out of bed at the crack of 9, give or take. That's right when the rooster crows, of course. No. Roll out of bed at the crack of 9, eat a bowl of cream of wheat. Big bowl of cream of wheat, that always gets my day going. Orange juice with vitamins. Half a glass of orange juice precisely. You can see this is all very measured. You can see my INTJ personality coming out.
Yeah.
Then I sit down at the computer. I watch one 30-minute either YouTube video or show with my breakfast. Then I tackle social media for the day, seeing everything that I missed in the past 12 hours or so, catching up on that. Making sure that I have all my ducks in a row for marketing and advertising for the book for the day. Then if it is a writing focused day, I will write for about 4 hours or so, 4 or 5 hours, and that's about when my brain gives out. Somewhere between 2,500 and 3,500 words on average. And then I'm just fried. You know that when those pictures of your brain on drugs, or you fry an egg in a skillet, that's what my brain looks like after a writing session.
I understand. So.
I was finishing. And then if I'm exercising that day, right now I'm doing Taekwondo, which I used to take and teach up until my dojo closed about a year ago. And so I still have a standing bag and some space out in the yard. And so I'll go and kick and punch that and relieve stress. And then I will eat dinner and go to sleep.
Well, geez. Well, and now the dojo actually closed.
It did. You're not financial hardship. This was before coronavirus. This was about a year ago.
You're not doing it virtually, are you? You're not doing that virtually.
Funny you should mention that, though. The organization I'm part of, ATA, the American Taekwondo Association, they are doing virtual tournaments to make up for people missing in-person tournaments. Yeah. And of course, you can't do sparring. I don't know how you would judge two people fighting.
No, but you can't. You can't.
Yes, you can do the forms, the kata, if you've ever heard the term.
You can do the forms. I actually have, believe it or not, I actually have 2 family members who are very skilled at Taekwondo. So, Chris, I actually know what you're talking about, believe it or not. And my audience is going to be like, what? You actually know what Chris is talking about? Yes, I do.
And I bet you know some of the moves. I bet they've showed you.
I do, and then they talk about it on the occasion. So my audience is going to be like, what? You know more than we think you do.
Of course.
That's of course. So, Chris, do you have any questions for me as we tie this interview up?
I do have some questions for you. I don't know if you get this one a lot, but how did you get your start in broadcasting?
I wrote a book, and then I thought, oh, great. Now I'm going to have this book out, and I don't want it to sit and collect Amazon dust, which, for those of you who think when just spoke French, Amazon dust is when you don't sell any copies of it off Amazon.
Oh, it's a very real thing. The cobwebs come next.
Yes. So I started on this content creation 10 years ago, and now it's turned in, well, since COVID, it's turned into my full-time job, which I absolutely love. Yeah, and I absolutely love interviewing podcasters and authors, because authorship is something that a lot of people say, I want to write a book, I want to write a book, but they don't know where to start. And with you and I, you got to start somewhere, you guys. You got to start somewhere. So that's how I started this podcast, because of the book.
I know a lot of people that have done that in the fantasy sphere, in nonfiction, whatever it is. It's a natural segue. I've looked into doing my own podcast, and I've actually started with a YouTube channel where I record videos related to my own book or books that I'm reading, which I've become a very slow reader since I started writing. But it's interesting little content. I even came up with one of my videos. I have a fantasy genealogy that starts, it's little stick figures because I'm terrible at art, but it has Tolkien at the top, and it branches off over 50 or 60 years how we got to modern fantasy. And I think that's my video with the most views because of the cute little stick figures.
How cool is that? So you just delve right in. Yes, but that's how I started this little green monster that I can't control. And the reason why I call it the little green monster is because cerebral palsy's national color is green. So I'm like, okay, it was supposed to be a little fun side project. Now it's my full-time job, / I'm getting a degree in it. And I'm like, oh, why? Why did I start this fun side project, although I love it?
It consumes you, and yet you keep going back to, you keep getting punched in the face and turning around. Whenever I'm having a bad day with writing, I feel the exact same way. Why am I doing this? And then you get a letter from a fan that says, I love your work. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll go get punched again.
Yes. And then I get a letter from a fan base saying, keep up the inspiration. And when I'll just keep up the inspiration and tell me that live. And I'm like, okay, you guys don't want me to stop.
Nope.
So
I can just tell from spending this time with you that your fans just adore your material.
And they also adore my books too, which that makes it hard when you build up a fan base, and you and I have built up a fan base. So that makes it hard. If we want to stop, we can't. Because fans are like, where's Chris's book?
Yes.
Where's Wynn's book? Where's Wynn's podcast? And so
I've actually revealed this on a few other programs or text interviews and stuff. And this Divinity's Twilight is supposed to be a 10-book series. And so this is the first book in 10-book series. So I'm on the hook for a while.
Yeah, you're on the hook for a while. You're on the hook for a while. And so do you have any other questions for me?
I do. I have a fun one now. If you could travel to any fictional storybook world, which would you pick and why?
I would pick, and believe it or not, it's one of my favorite movies. And my favorite movie is Storybook Love. And whoever did the fictional story based off of Storybook Love, I would love to go there and just see how they did the movie, because now I'm fascinated with the sets, and I'm fascinated with the I'm just fascinated with the whole concept of story I'm so sorry, Storybook Love is a song in A Princess Bride.
Oh, okay.
Completely
I was trying to connect it.
Like,
what? The Princess Bride is one of my top 5 favorite movies.
Princess Bride is what I'm trying to say. No, it took me a couple minutes. Sorry about that, you guys. I'm like, what? In my brain. No, I was so focused on your question. I just came out with the answer. And so Princess Bride is something that I would really like to go see. How they did it, how the soup was made, so to speak. I mean, the Princess Bride has been around since the 90s and the 80s, and it's a really cool movie for those of you who...
It's basically perfect. And it's funny you should mention that, because I've watched Princess Bride a number of times in English. But when I was back in high school, I lived in Germany for 3 years. I was an Army brat. And then when I came back to the States, I took 5 years of German. I continued my learning. And my teacher in high school, Herr Gardner, his favorite movie was The Princess Bride. And so it was almost every Friday we would watch a movie. And there was 2 movies, because he wanted us to be able to translate from English to German for these movies. And one of those 2 movies was The Princess Bride. So I have probably seen it about 5 or 6 times in English and 5 or 6 times in German. And I can quote the movie, a lot of lines from memory.
You can. I can probably quote the movie too, which I'm not going to do. You guys. I will not quote that movie to save my life, but it's a good one on a rainy day, or if you're stuck inside due to COVID, try and find that one on Netflix or something, because every time my stepmom and I, we are sucker for movies. we are not a sucker for TV shows, although my stepsister is a sucker for TV shows. We are suckers for movies. Every time a good movie comes on, we're like, okay, let's sit and watch this, especially Princess Bride. And it's like, oh boy, here we go again. How many times do I have to see the Princess Bride? But that's one of my all-time favorite movies that I would like to go see where how they actually did it, because the cinematography and the set design is beautiful. And now, granted, it was done in the 80s, so all that technology has changed, and so I would just like to go see how they have actually done that.
That's awesome.
So, Christopher, where can people find you, and where can people find the book, obviously, and where can people get a hold of you? I know you're on Facebook. That's where I got a hold of you, but I know you're everywhere with this book.
So the main link, or the main place to find me, is my website, and that's going to be ChristopherRussellAuthor.com. So that's my name, and then I add author to the end. Pretty easy branding. And when you get to the website, all of my social media links, whether you're on desktop or on your mobile, are going to be in the top right corner. And those social media links are on Facebook, Divinity's Twilight Fantasy Novels. On Instagram, it is Christopher_Russell_author. And on Twitter, it is Chris_DT_author. I also have a YouTube channel that's accessible from my website. And also on the website, in addition to purchase links for Divinity's Twilight, which can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, bookshop.org. Essentially, there's 1,800 ebook retailers and a bunch of physical retailers where you can find it. But you also can find several hours of free reads, short stories that I've written in the Divinity's Twilight universe, a preview of the prologue. You can find previews to a short story I'm writing for an author anthology this winter, as well as my upcoming Asian fantasy standalone that's going to be releasing next year, hopefully alongside book 2 in the Divinity's Twilight series. But there is a lot of projects in the work, and you can find something on all of them on my website. I like to put all that information out there so people can get a feel for my writing style and what they're buying before they ever get a product.
Yes. Well, you're a better man than I. I tell people where my books are, and then they go find them for themselves. But after journalism school, you guys, I'm actually going to be publishing a lot more work. You guys just haven't seen a lot more work out of me because I've been so busy with school. And so that is my project after journalism school. But I appreciate Chris's time, and I hope you guys enjoyed this interview. Thank you so much, everyone, for supporting this, and I hope you go enjoy Chris's book. And when I do pick up my copy after journalism school, I will let you know how I enjoyed it, Chris, because I know it's going to be out there. I know it's still going to be waiting for me. So that will be my first book out of the chute. When I get my head above this stupid textbook, because I need a book to clear my brain, and yours sounds like it's going to be the perfect ticket in, and I wish you all the best of luck on your success with your writing and also your teaching too. I mean, teachers need writers, and writers need good English teachers. Let me just tell you that. But I wish you all the best of luck, and go support Chris. Oh, and here's my other PSA. Leave a review on Chris's book. You guys, don't just pick up a book and run because that helps as our eyeballs see it, and his publisher will be very, very happy. And so please, please, please support independent published authors, whether it's me, Chris, or someone else who's independently published out there. And please leave a 5-star review for them. That would make everyone so incredibly happy. And I'll catch you guys later. Bye, you guys.